When I graduated SEAL training in 1985 and reported to SEAL Team 1, most of the instructors were Vietnam vets, and certainly when they weren't, they had been taught by Vietnam vets. We were still living off Vietnam. We didn't have any of this weird stuff we were doing. Everything we knew, because there was no Afghanistan, there was no Iraq, there wasn't any Desert Storm, was tactics for Vietnam. That's all we really had to train and work on from the guys that had done it before. And one of the big ones was ambushes on the land or in the water, river ambushes. The guys in Vietnam did a lot of. So I'm a new guy. This is my first river ambush, and I'm excited. I'm excited about everything. I just loved every bit of it. And the river ambush that we were doing that night for the first time was on the Alamo River, and we were told in California, we were told it was the third most polluted river in the nation. They were going to swim across this thing and then back. So the idea of a river ambush is you would take your point man and he would swim across this thing with a line, and he would tie it off and you'd tie that off, and then one at a time you would snap your gun into it, and then with your life jackets on, and you would pull yourself across this line, get up on the bank, wait for everybody else, and then you would patrol down and find a suitable ambush site. This river, I walked across the bottom of the river. I was so heavy with ammunition. I'm swimming this pig, this M60 anyhow. It's got a life jacket on. I should have had two on me because I went straight to the bottom and walked across there without ever catching a breath of air. And as we're patrolling down the river, the river is devoid of foliage. There's nothing there. It's muddy banks. We're about 10 feet up looking down in this thing. And we find this bush. And so what you would do then is you would put two guys in. We had this all planned out. Two guys would go into the water. And when the ambush was over, when all this lead was flying and violence and dudes screaming and all that other shit, they would swim out, hook onto that boat, and then we would pull it to the bank, and you would search the bodies, take the weapons, intelligence, and shit like that, and then you would get the hell out of there. So we find this bush, this one bush on this river. I mean, it's just a mud, nasty river. There's one bush. And so my platoon commander put the two swimmers in there. They got their fins on. They're in there waiting. And I'm up on the bank about 10 feet up. And after that commotion, I look down in the moonlight, and I see something swimming across the river right for that bush. It's a muskrat. And the guys in the bush can't really see out of it. They can't see this thing. They're at water level, eye level, but I can see it. And that muskrat goes straight in the bush with those guys. And the next thing you saw was that bush start going. Those guys were in there. Something's, I tell you, I don't care how bad a SEAL you are, when something bumps you in the water, I mean, it sends you straight into orbit. But we get in it. I mean, we do it. We're happy to do it. But when you get bumped in the water by anything, especially at night, it tends to freak you out. And the next thing I saw was that muskrat go tearing out of that bush, and those two down there, knuckleheads down there, had no idea what that just was. Here comes another, and another, and another. Every muskrat on this river wanted in that bush, and just one after another, they were going in, and you'd see that muskrat go in that bush, and the bush would start shaking all over the place, and water would start splashing out. That muskrat would come. I have never laughed that hard for that long in my life. And you're supposed to be stealthy on these ambushes, and I was blowing snot out of my ears. It was so funny, those guys down there, and never knowing what it was, shit just kept pumping them. It's a muskrat. So I had swam 500 rounds of ammunition across this river, and we were there forever, man. I mean, we were there for a long time. And the moon set, and it was just pitch total darkness. And just by the time you're just wanting to go, what the hell is going on? Hours we sat there, in hours. Here comes this boat down the river. And the OIC starts shooting, so we're all starting to shoot. We unload. I am so excited for this thing. We've been there so long. It's just been an interesting night with these muskrats. I damn near drowned getting across the river with all this ammunition. I took that M60 and went, bunk. I never fired around. The M60 jammed. By the time I had that fixed, you know, being a dumb new guy, the ambush was over. The guys brought the boats in and all that other shit. And we were starting to pull back and go back to when we came in for the insertion point. And I said, Henry, no damn way I'm going to swim these rounds across that river. And as soon as I got down there near the water's edge, I started dumping rounds everywhere. I got rid of all 500 of those rounds and made it across the river with my head above water. So the lesson learned was after that, I wore 2 life jackets. I wore one on each arm and would buckle them around in just some kind of crazy, these UDT life jackets that we had. And then I would put one on the weapon. And that's the last time I used to carry that pig everywhere. Everywhere. I humped and humped that thing in every environment imaginable. And I never had another problem with it. But it took 2 life jackets to keep you up and 1 for the weapon. 3. Damn muskrats. See ya.